So today I'm going to show you 3 different designs for a hidden chest in Valheim. This means that your chest will not be easily seen, and I've tried to keep all of the designs very simple and also very authentic looking so they don't draw any attention to them. Hopefully this will be useful for you if you're on a multiplayer server, or even if you just want to do it for a bit of fun in your single player world. What I'm going to do is start off by showing you each of the 3 designs, and then in the chapters for this video I'll put a little tutorial for each of them so you can skip ahead to whichever one interests you the most, I guess, or whichever one is, I guess, most useful for you. So first one we're going to do is my favorite, which is the hidden chest in this room right here. Now this is my favorite for a couple of reasons. First of all, it is under a fireplace, and everyone needs to have a fireplace near their bed in Valheim, so there's no reason for anyone to think that this looks out of place, right? It's just a normal fireplace. The other reason I really like this one is you really, like, from here you still can't really see it, right? You have to really scroll in, and you can see here, you can just see the corner of this chest. And this brings me on to the next reason I love this design. You'll see here that even when I'm looking at this chest, it's kind of still looking like, well, hang on, I can't even access this chest, right? You have to really get to a little specific spot on it before you can access it. Now, that spot is just about there. Now, because I've made this design, I know this, and here we go, I'm in the chest, I can put things in, take them out, you know. But if you didn't know this, you might even look at this and go, is that, or is it wood or floor or something? I don't know. You might even leave it, right? So, I quite like that design. That is design number 1. Okay, this right here is the second design, and honestly, it's really difficult to see this one. Like, no matter how close you get to it, you can't really see, and that's one of the things I love about it. And plus, everybody needs a workbench, so it doesn't really look out of way. Like, it's just here in your base, you have a workbench, no big deal. And you could even place these around the world if you wanted, because we all set up workbenches around the world too. But to get to this one, if you're here and you're just looking, and this is, there we go, there, I can just about get into this chest from here. So again, like, no one is gonna see this, right? They would have to know of this design or get like insanely lucky to come and see this, but you'll know it's here, so this is another really good design. Now, my third one, I had sort of in mind that sometimes you might not want a chest in your base, you might want it out on the go. And what is everywhere in Valheim? Well, trees, of course. And so, this tree stump right here is a good hiding spot for a chest, and there we go. Now, this one here is a little bit more visible. When you get up to it, you can see it, right? And there we go, we can open it right now. However, if you're running through a Valheim world, especially if you did this in a forest where you yourself know where the tree is, but nobody else is really gonna, like, stop and get this close up to a tree, and they have to specifically be coming from this angle and get this close, because if they were coming from like this side or something, there's nothing here to see. So I still think this one is pretty useful because it can be used on the go as well. And this is design number 3. So as I said, if you want a tutorial on how to build these, go look in the chapters and you'll be able to see whereabouts in the video you can find a build tutorial for them. Okay, so we're going to start here with the first design, the one underneath the fire pit you see here. So to do this, if you have a fire pit already, you're going to need to break all the stuff that you have right now, of course, and we'll also break the chest as well and pick that up, because obviously you're not going to have that at this point. Careful the smoke inhalation there. Okay, so with this area here cleared out, what you then need to do is start digging down here a little bit, right? So we can dig down like a couple times here, just like this. And then what we're going to look to do is go ahead and get our chest placed in, right? So that's going to go, let's see, about there is good, I would say. So right now you can see this is like underneath the level that the floor would be at, right? If we scroll in there, you can see that's underneath where the floor would be, so that's perfect. And we did that by digging down once here and once here, because digging down here will dig a little bit there. So getting this right is going to be a bit of trial and error, guys. It can take a little bit of time to do, but overall I think it is worth it. Okay, so then we're going to level the ground with our hoe. So let's go grab our hoe, stand on this level right here that we want the level to be, and start to bury this chest as best we can. But obviously you don't want to bury it fully, so actually like that is probably going to be about perfect, because if right now I try to open this chest, I hopefully still can. Okay, no. Alright, so there you go. So even when some of the chest is out like that, you can't actually open it. So then if that happens, simply dig back down and then redo this process and just bury it a little bit less this time, hopefully, right? So is that going to be enough this time? Let's see. Yes, we can now open this. Okay, great. So now what we do is, of course, select our fireplace, and that's going to go on top there, just like that. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and go to building here and place down our floor again, right? So this all looks just normal, right? Like there's nothing going on here. Oh, looks like I lost some wood in this process. Let me grab that a sec. Okay, I've got my wood again now, so there we go. We're going to go ahead and place that down there. Very good. And so right now, this fireplace is going to be a little bit different to the last time, but as you can see, we do have a nice hidden chest, and now it's just about learning. There we go. It's that corner right there that we're going to have to go and select, right? So you guys in your world can play around with this. As you see, this time I did it, I got a little bit of a different sort of result, and that's the way Valheim is. It's not like perfect blocks and things, so you're going to get a different result each time you do it. But I do think that hiding it under the fireplace like this is a really good way of doing it. And again here, even when someone is looking at this, if they get this close to it and they look at this, you know, they obviously are not going to see it. Now, one thing to mention is, of course, what you could do is simply like bury a chest under a piece of floor, and then you'd have to destroy the floor each time, right? And sure, that would be hidden and it would be a good way of hiding it. However, what I wanted to do with today's designs was make it in a way that the chest is always accessible, right? So it's just there, you don't have to break anything, it's always accessible if you need it. Okay, this is design number 2. So in terms of building this one, let's have a look at how we do it. Now, in terms of the workbench and the roof and stuff, I mean, you guys, this is pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to look more at the flooring and the placement of the workbench itself than the structure that you build around it, because you might want to make that your own a little bit anyway, right? Have some fun with it and that sort of thing. But the flooring. So let's have a look at this real quick. What we've got here is basically a 3x3 sized area of the 2x2 flooring, but we've done some jazzy stuff with the middle bit. So let's get rid of this right here, this right here, this right here, and this is now our little gap in the middle where a 2x2 would fit perfectly, right? Because it is that 3x3 area of 2x2s. So what we want to do at that stage is get it where it's fitting perfectly. And a tip for this, by the way, guys, what you might want to do is scroll right in before you start placing, because then you can just get the best view at this. Now, if we press shift at this point, we can just move this slightly and get it into a good location. So it needs to be the same height as the other flooring, and you'll also notice here that I'm lining up the beams here, right? These lines, you want those lined up as best as you can, so it just looks natural, just looks like it's a part of the floor. And then what we want to do is switch down to the 1x1 floor, and the first one we're going to place in this corner right here. What we want to do is just get it just like about like just there-ish. Just there we go, just like that. So you'll see this bit here now, again, this looks like it's part of the floor, and you can't really tell that that's like, because it's sort of underneath this one, right? If that makes sense. Okay, so now at this stage we've got this little tiny gap, and we're just going to get rid of this last little gap. So again, we're going to use the 1x1 flooring for that. Oh, and I have to repair my hammer. Let me just do that real quick. Okay, so again, we're scrolled right in here, and this is what we're left with right now. So this is where the flooring would normally go, and there we go. We just want to get it just like this. So we've just got this tiny little gap, right? It's a really small little gap in the floor just there for the chest. Okay, so at this point you'll have something that looks a bit like this, where there's just this tiny little gap where we can get to the chest. So the next thing to do is to place our workbench down, right? So this workbench right here, you want it to be about there. Okay, so just line those legs up. I'll just leave this on screen for a second. It's about there. So this is the gap you're going to have where you could access the chest from. Now it looks kind of big, but what we're going to do next, of course, is start adding in these walls, and this is when the design really comes into its own. If I add that wall there, you'll see at this point it really is pretty hidden. Like, you can't really see this very well at all, right? It's only the fact that we know it's there, and you see there's just this tiny little spot that if I'm looking at it, I can open up the chest. Just about there. There we go. So I can open up this chest, put stuff in and out, of course, you know, we're sorted. Now, on top of that, by the time we start adding the stuff around the back and the roof and that sort of thing as well, it's the shadow that you get from this. So I'm going to just go and add this stuff now a second, and then I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so as you can see, now we have the roof on this thing and the walls around it and stuff with the shadows and stuff that are here. They're really like, it just doesn't look like there's anything up. Like, even when I'm fully zoomed in and really up close, it doesn't really look like there's much going on. But if we just get to the perfect point over here, and again, this is one of its charms, because you'll learn the perfect point when you're here playing, right? But nobody else is here like seeing this, and so it is really well hidden, and I just like, no one's going to see this. I'm pretty certain of it. So that's another little one that you can use there, and that is design number 2. So design number 3 is over here next to the tree stump, and probably is our most exposed chest. Like, from here you can start to see there's something there. Now, however, I would say that if you're walking around the forest, you might just assume that's a little bit of dirt, right? There are little dirt patches around the forest. It's not all grass, and when it's near a tree that people have been chopping down and stuff, you might just think it's dirt. You'd have to really like go up to it and be pretty close before you start to say, oh, that's a chest. And as I said, you'd have to be looking at it from the right angle and stuff, and you know, who's going to be checking every single tree when they're running through a forest? There's a lot of them in this game, as you guys know. But let's have a look at how we actually build this one. Just a quick side note here, guys. If you do it on a tree that has already been chopped down, it's better than doing it on a tree that hasn't, because a tree that hasn't might mean that someone is attracted to that tree to try to chop it down from themselves, and at that point they might see your chest. Whereas if it's just a tree stump, chances are no one is going to go and look at it because they have no real reason to. Okay, so this is how the tree stump's going to look when you walk up to it. Obviously your stump will be a little bit different, but you want to get up nice and close to it and just start digging down, right? And just digging down like as close as you can to the tree, and you'll hit it a little bit and then just come back a little bit and just get underneath it when you can. It's just a little bit like tricky this stage because we want to get really close to it. Okay, we're actually like very close. Okay, there we go. So we've got a nice little hole now under here, right? At this stage, what you can do as well is actually just dig another little bit here, because this will take you slightly up. Now, what that means is then when we go to leveling the ground here, what we can do is just level this and bring it up a little bit under the tree there. Okay, at this point, what we do is go ahead and get our chest. And we want to place that in here nice and close to the tree. In fact, this looks like I've even got it better than I did in the previous one. And if you spend a lot of time on this, you can really get them good, guys. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and level the ground again, stood up at the same level as all of the ground around it, right? And we're going to bring this up like this. Okay, now at this point what you want to do is just the edges of the circle around the chest there like that, because you don't want to bury the whole thing. You can just go in a little bit closer, a little bit closer. You are burying the chest, but not fully, right? This is the whole point of it. Now the good thing about being so close to the tree as well is you'll see there's a bit of shadowing that comes from the tree down over the chest. That does help to hide it a little bit. Okay, the final touch here is to get our cultivator out, and with the cultivator right click and select grass, and then go ahead and just place grass all around this tree, so it just looks like the area hasn't been disturbed, right? You place it all around here, just like this, very good. And now you've pretty much got it done. I mean, from here, you can't even see the chest, but if you do get up close to it, there you go, there's a chest. Now, again, most people, when they're running through, are probably going to be zoomed out at about this sort of level. I personally zoom out like the entire way, but even if you're in quite close like this, you still have to get reasonably close to this before you can see it's a chest. And from here, it doesn't even say chest, so you might just out the corner of your eye think it's part of the tree, or it's some dirt or something else. You'd have to really be like here before you can see it's a chest. And so the fact you can have those and they're not even near your base, you know, it could be somewhere else, and you could even mark them on your mini-map, you know, if you had a little area for it or something like that. I'm sure you guys will figure out the ways of doing that, you know, to have like a memory of where this is. But I do think this is a useful one, given that it can be hidden around the world. So today's video was quite different to what I normally do on the Valheim content, but if it's something you guys like, please do let me know by liking and commenting and that sort of thing. I could develop this idea and we could look at either doing more hidden chest areas or hidden base ideas or things like that, maybe PvP traps for you to you know, stitch your friends up and that kind of thing. It's all about the feedback I get from you guys, so please do let me know down in the comments and stuff if you want to see this more of this type of thing. And if you like Valheim videos in general, then please do consider subscribing for more. But for now, I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Maybe you've already come up with an idea or two of your own on how to hide chests and that type of thing in Valheim. If you have, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you, and let's get the discussion going.